In order to make a world-renowned vintage of wine, grapes must ripen gradually, then ferment under controlled conditions. It's a slow process that goes on throughout California's Sonoma Valley. In contrast to this serenity at nearby Sears Point Raceway, NHRA racing teams search for the blend of stunning acceleration with exotic performances. It is wine from superchargers, not from a vine, on tap today at the Autolite Nationals. One week ago, the racers that followed the NHRA Winston Trail were in Denver, Colorado, where they had the problems of high temperatures and even higher altitudes. This week, we are near sea level and the weather is much nicer, much cooler indeed at the Autolite Nationals at Sears Point Raceway. Hi, everybody. I'm Dave McClelland, and this Sonoma Valley racetrack has provided its fair share of excitement over the 11 years of the Autolite Nationals. This year, no exception, as qualifying was quite a thrill. And there was a dramatic moment indeed when Shelley Anderson in the Parts America Dragster came up alongside Corey McLenithan. Shelley lost the engine and tires, and the car slammed into the guardrail. Flames breaking out and poured back into the cockpit as the car skidded down the racetrack backwards. As it came to a stop, the safety safari crew immediately on the scene, dousing both the vehicle and Shelley with the fire extinguishing compound. Watch again. Corey Mack had gone up in smoke. Shelley's car slammed into the guardrail hard, then spun back around. 180 degrees backwards down the racetrack, skidded Shelley Anderson. As this camera angle so graphically shows, both rear tires were gone. The rear end itself hung by just a thread of wreckage. The roll cage itself was intact, but a huge amount of burning fuel and oil poured back into the cockpit. Here is a dramatic sight on board with Shelley in this qualifying incident. She attempted to steer out of the skid, but as you can see, the flames got into the cockpit. She was transported by helicopter to a local hospital. Here's the current status. She has second-degree burns on her left hand, third-degree burns on the left arm and both ankles. She'll be undergoing skin grafts and be hospitalized for a couple of weeks. All in all, quite lucky. Bob Vandergriff had similar problems. The tire let go. He was able to keep the car straight. It dropped down on the chassis and heavy vibration. As you can see, the car just shaking itself something furiously. The crew attempted to repair the vehicle, but found that the damage was so severe, in fact, to the extent that one of the uprights in the chassis was shaken out. The Jersey's crew was forced to go to a backup car. That is allowed as a result of a rule change that came about after an incident involving Eddie Hill at this race just 1 year ago. That put Vandergriff on the starting line against the #1 qualifier. He went up in smoke. Rick Castle, the crew chief, after all that work on Bob Vandergriff's car, certainly not happy. Doug Coletta, the top qualifier, a great 4.66. Alan Reinhart took a look at the Winston chase.
It's been said 100 times that the Western Swing will make or break you if you're looking for the championship. Corey Mack knows that. Last year, he swept all 3 of the races on the West Coast Swing. This year, he won the first race in Denver, and Corey has the points lead, although it's not by much. You can see Amato's just a couple of rounds back, then Selze and Bernstein, your top 4. Coming here into Sonoma, Corey wanted to extend that lead, but it didn't quite go according to plan. In this first-round matchup with Kenny Bernstein, pretty good old drag race, but Bernstein beat him to the stripe. Corey, obviously, was disappointed. Well, Corey, I guess the best you can hope for now is that maybe Amato and some of the other guys go out early, huh?
Yeah, I mean, you know, so much for the swing deal, but my guys do a great job. What can you say? Kenny Bernstein and the bunch did a better job than we did, and that's all there is to it.
He may still get out of here with the points lead. Behind Corey in the line was Joe Amato, who watched Corey get beat first round. Joe, thinking he could really capitalize on that mistake, came up against Bruce Sarver. At the flash of the green, Amato smokes the tires, Bruce Sarver gets the win, and Joe knew that he missed a great shot to close the gap.
Yeah, every time you get a chance to make ground on the #1 car, it seems like we can't put it together, but we'll be back. You know, it's just one of them deals. You know, this is a tough deal out here, and people don't realize how much pressure it is.
The guy that's got a golden opportunity now is Gary Selze, the reigning champion, and also the guy who is #3 in the Winston points chase. With the 2 front runners out, he can make up some ground. Already picked up 20 points for the first round win. And if you're wondering why Team Winston's not here in the pits, it's because they're in the staging lanes. It's time for round 2 at Top Fuel.
And the first pair we're going to look at is David Grubnick at the wheel of John Mitchell's Montana Express and Bruce Sarver. Sarver's Atco Special is certainly the talk of the pits right now after taking out Joe Amato in the first round. Sarver, in his qualifying effort, came in the number 15 spot, and here he is already in round number 2. Other matchups in the second round find Coletta against Bernstein, Jim Head going against Randy Parks, who upset Mike Dunn. Here's the Sarver-Grubnik match, and Eddie Hill and Gary Selze scheduled to put on quite a battle indeed. Sarver with the Fashing family pretty much serving as his entire crew. 486 was his qualifying effort. He ran a 5:25 in that first round match. David Grubnick, meantime, qualified 10th and had a great 488 when he beat Larry Dixon in his first round match. Huge crowd on hand here today at Sears Point Raceway for this 11th annual running of the Autolite Nationals. We're in round 2, Top Fuel. A giant hole shot for Sarver and the crew of David Grubnick. Disappointed because Sarver with a 490 won it all on the starting line. David Grubnick much quicker with a 482. But as we see in this replay, Sarver was much quicker at the start. Grubnick almost a 1/10 of a second late in reaction time. Could not make it up, though he tried hard at the finish line. Sarver won it.
Bruce, I'm going to tell you the same thing I told you last round. I didn't think that would be enough.
No, I didn't either. That thing went out there and shook its brains out hard. I had to pedal it, but, you know, I knew Dave, he's a good driver on that starting line, so I was prepared for him, man. I was going to gun him down, and we had fun.
He definitely gunned him down.
Not much doubt about that. Sarver now to the semifinals. David Grubnick not at all happy with himself. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sears Point Raceway and this Autolite Nationals. We're right in the middle of a 3-race swing. Next weekend, we'll be at Seattle International Raceway for the Prolong Super Lubricants Northwest Nationals. Right now, we're in the midst of round number 2 of Top Fuel Eliminator here at the Autolite Nationals. Jim Head against Randy Parks. Earlier, Alan took a look at Jim's new sponsors.
In Top Fuel Racing, sponsorship is the name of the game, and Jim Head is no exception. He's been looking for a sponsor for most of the season. Well, he's got some help from some local companies. McWhorter Transportation, that's Gary Selze's wife, Julie. SE Enterprises, that's Gary Selze and his brother's business out in Fresno. Now, this is a legitimate business deal. Head got paid for this, and the companies in Fresno figured here in their own backyard they could use a little extra exposure. Jim, by the way, wanted me to let you know that in Seattle, the whole car is available, if you're interested.
Where else but NHRA Winston Drag Racing could you find an opponent sponsoring a competitor's car? One thing about it, they're on opposite sides of the ladder. Jim Head and Gary Selze could race each other. Head ran 475 in qualifying, beat Robert Reel in the first round. Mike Dunn was the victim for the surprising Randy Parks, who had qualified 12th at a 483. Parks in the Ryden decal Fluke Electronics car moved up out of the Federal Mogul Dragster division into Top Fuel last season. Has been an infrequent competitor this year. Until he started mixing up the cylinders, Parks gave Head fifth. 478. Look at the speed on Jim Head. 310 miles an hour. Normally, he doesn't run quite that big number. The Bud King, Kenny Bernstein. Engine coming to life. His opponent, the #1 qualifier, Doug Galetta. Ed McCulloch, his crew chief, making final adjustments in the cockpit. Let's go to the far end. Here again, Alan Reinhart.
Do you mean to tell me that all you needed to start running like this was a sponsor?
Yeah, that and paint the car red. We didn't like black, I guess.
Nice lap.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. We weren't trying too hard. We're going to have to step it up a little bit next round, regardless of who we have. But baby steps, I think she'll run a 71-72 for him.
Here in the heat of the day at Sears Point Raceway, 71-72 elapsed times. That certainly will put you in contention. Kenny Bernstein's contending. He took out the Winston leader in the first round, qualified in the number 8 spot. Here's your top qualifier, Doug Coletta, to 471. As we saw earlier, he set low ET of the race in that first round matchup with that great 466. On board in the Budweiser King car, looking from one of those wing struts down the length of the race car, the engine sitting right in front of the camera. Gave you a great view of Doug Galetta sticking the nose out as Ed McCulloch celebrating a victory. Look at this, 470 at 311 miles an hour. In all the runs thus far, Coletta has been in the 470s, 460s. He was only forced to shut off once in qualifying. Look at him squirt ahead as Bernstein smoked the tires. Alan?
You, sir, are just mowing them down. 470.
Beautiful. Yeah, it was a nice run to get through. Boy, it was a real nice run. The guys really got it running good and couldn't be happier.
You still get nervous when you climb in there?
Well, when you get down, just a couple rounds, whatnot. We're just doing our best out here and hoping to make it to the end.
Today, they're doing better than everybody.
They're making it to the end in fine style indeed. Eddie Hill and Gary Selze. Selze in the near lane. Eddie Hill on the far side of the racetrack. Lane choice here going to Selze. And most of the quicker cars have selected the lane nearest the camera. Hill qualified third with a 475, ran 477 in the first round. Selze, meantime, qualified with a 482. He beat Kristen Powell with a great 472 in his round one effort. That's Alan Johnson, the team owner, car owner, and crew chief on the reigning Winston champion, Gary Selze. Selze trying to close the gap to the leader. Oh, that's not going to help him smoking the tires. Look at Hill go. Wasn't pretty. 497 at 286 miles an hour. But when that big light comes on the scoreboard indicating you have won the race, you really don't care what kind of elapsed time you have. Watch in replay as yet again another contender fails to step up and take charge in the Winston chase. Selze leaving a trail of tire smoke behind him, watching helplessly as Eddie Hill goes to the finish line to take the win. Alan Reinhart is there to talk with him.
If you'd have told me I'm going to run 497 to take out Selze, I don't think I'd have believed that.
Well, it just kind of goes to show when it's your day, and when it's not, it's not. So we're proud to be where we are, and we'll take it.
You figure you've had enough deposits into the luck bank, it's time to withdraw some?
And I tell you what, we could withdraw for the rest of the year, and we'd be just about even.
Eddie Hill's had a tough season thus far, but here he is in the semifinals. He's matched up against the upset-minded Bruce Sarver. Top dog Doug Coletta gets to race Jim Head in the third round. Alan?
Gary, you closed the gap a little bit in the points, but you had a chance to close it a lot more.
Yeah, we really had a chance to capitalize on this deal, but Team Winston Travelers Tool Car, we came around after first round, and it's just one of those things. It just shook and tried to pedal and just kept blowing the tires off. Too much steam, I guess.
You're closer now than you were when you got here.
Yeah, we're gaining it back, but we need to really make some moves here shortly.
Here's a guaranteed recipe for 300-mile-an-hour excitement. Take a tubular chassis, add a supercharged 500 cubic inch engine, throw in a fiberglass body, add a dash of pure nitromethane. It's Funny Cars coming up next. Welcome back to Sears Point Raceway. We're located just outside San Francisco, California, and we're here for the 11th annual running of the Autolite Nationals. Before we get to funny car racing, let's go to Alan Reinhart for a look at round one action.
When funny car qualifying ended, John Force's two-car concept looked like a brilliant idea because this car driven by Tony Pedregon was in position to race Chuck Etchels in round number 1. The key, of course, for Tony to take out Chuck and then John to make some points in the Winston points chase. Well, in round 1, part of the plan went perfect. Chuck Etchels fell back just off the starting line as Tony streaked to the win at 5:23. Obviously, Chuck was disappointed.
Well, I'll tell you, it felt a little weird in the burnout, like it was vibrating or something a bit. And, you know, just down a tire, wallowing around, and it just wasn't our day, that's all. But we'll be in Seattle, and we'll try and do something there.
With Etchels out, of course, the second half of the plan would be that John Force driving this car win the first round and maybe a few more rounds and make up some points in the Winston chase. That's where the problem set in. Force came to the starting line against Al Hoffman, and if you're a John Force fan, it was bad news. Force could run only 5:20. Hoffman got the win at 5.12 seconds, and John was done for the day.
You got a lane over there. His hot rod's running good. He's got nothing to lose. We're just trying to go for it. He's trying to help his buddy Etchels. I can see that. But, hey, it's a long old season. Tony's in the hunt here. Etchels didn't hurt us any. And we're just going to have to figure this Mustang out. That's all we have to do. And we ain't even started to get smart here. We're about to.
So now that John Force is out in round 1, they revert to Plan C, which worked so well in Denver last week. Tony's got to win the race, while John's guys get his car ready for Seattle.
Well, probably the most interested spectator on the grounds right now is John Force. He's got his eye on the Syntec car as Tony Pedregon comes up against his brother Cruz, the Interstate Batteries machine, wearing the graphics of the Small Soldiers movie. They debuted 1 week ago in Denver. An intriguing car indeed out of Joe Gibbs Racing. Let's take a look how the Pedregon brothers got to this point. Cruz beat Corey Lee. Of course, Tony took out Chuck Etchels. Hoffman will be against Ron Capps, the top qualifier in this second round. Whit Bazemore and Dean Scusa. And Tim Wilkerson goes against Del Worship. Great racing in round number 2 here at the Autolite Nationals. This just the first pair of our second round of competition. Tony qualified in the number 12 spot at a 5:33. Did not have a great run in that first round of 5:26. His brother Cruz, though, ran 5:23 to defeat Corey Lee in the first round. That earned him the lane choice. And as I noted earlier, the Nitro racers have been opting for the lane nearest the camera. Whether it is that much better or it's just a psychological advantage, hard to tell. Well, when they follow the leader and everybody goes to the left-hand lane, the quicker of the cars, you generally are going to get your bulk of the winners coming out of that lane. No exception here as Tony loses it on the starting line, hits the cone, and John Force, not a happy man at all. Now his blocker is out as Cruz Pedregon makes his way down the racetrack. Let's watch in replay. Look at Tony up on 2 wheels, air underneath the right-hand side. Tony gathers it in, Cruz the winner.
I guess no matter how old you get, you never get tired of beating up on your brother.
Well, you guys say beating up, but I love my brother Tony. He's one of the best drivers. I consider myself the best, but I know I've struggled lately, but I'm just glad to get a round win for Joe Gibbs and Champion Spark Plugs. Everybody, this movie car, Small Soldiers, is awesome, and I felt it. I felt I was gonna have to pedal it, but Wes Cerny, I've always said I was meant to race with him. He was meant to race with me, and it went right through that bad spot, and I think it ran good.
It did run good, 5:10.
Wes Cerny, the crew chief on Pedregon's Pontiac. Our next pair, it is with Basemore's Camaro in the far lane, Dean Scusa in the near lane. A lot of love between those two Pedregon brothers, offering congratulations and condolences, depending upon which side of the ladder you're on. Here is Scusa. Defeated Gary Dencham in the first round after a 5:23 qualifying effort. Whit Bazemore qualified second with a 5:14. Ran a 5:19 in the first round, and you say, why did he take the far lane? Well, he didn't. Scusa actually ran quicker in his first round victory over Dencham. That gave him the right to choose, and he put the Mopar from Matco Tools here in the near lane. One thing this race proved is that you can smoke the tires in either lane, as Kusa, unable to regain traction with Bazemore, was capable in backpedaling and getting the car to hook back up. He went 5:63, not an awe-inspiring time. See the raw fuel pouring out of the bank on the right-hand side of the Team Winston car. That indicates a dropped cylinder, no power in one hole, but Witt wins the round.
I guess, Witt, that was a case where you had happier feet than he did.
This car, it dropped the cylinder, and that's a huge risk to pedal it when it's got a hole out like that twice. But, you know, we're just having a little Sunday drive out here in the wine country in our red Z28. We're ready to have a long afternoon.
Round number 2, a funny car. Well, that'll continue. And I must tell you, this is a real John Force fan. Tattoos of John's car all over her back. Action frantic over in the Jim Head pit area. Why? They're getting ready for their semifinal round race, and they have to take on the hot dog of the weekend. Doug Coletta, the #1 qualifier and the quickest car with a great 466. Nitromethane going into the tank. In our funny cars, we've already got nitromethane being burned in those 500 cubic inch engines. Here's Del Worsham, the Checker, Shucks, and Cragen car. That's that family racing operation that qualified number 6 and beat the Mad Magazine car of Jerry Tolliver in the first round. Tim Wilkerson topped Al Sagrini in round number 1 with low ET of the meet. The John Costanza Institute of Technology car went 5:03 at over 304 miles an hour in that round 1 victory. Tim Wilkerson established himself right then as the car to beat. While Worsham was unable to recover from the loss of traction, Tim Wilkerson got on and off the throttle to a 5:36 at 270 miles an hour. Here with the heat beginning to build up in the racetrack, it is a very fine line the crew chiefs walk between stuck to the pavement and up in smoke. That's Al Hoffman. He's racing Ron Capps, the Team Copenhagen Camaro owned by Don Prudhomme, qualified number 1. Al Hoffman, in his battle against John Force in round number 1, prevailed. Probably no greater rivalries existed. Look at 2 interested observers. Number 1 and 2 in the Winston chase at this moment, and Chuck Etchells has got the lead. X marks the spot. That must mean Roland Leong's on the grounds. It's not a treasure hunt. That's where Ron Capps did his burnout. The number 1 qualifier beat Don Sasenka in the first round. And Al Hoffman, of course, beat John Force. The reason Etchells and Force are so interested in the outcome of this race, Ron Capps is the guy in 3rd place in the Winston chase. And should he continue to advance through rounds of elimination, he will be eating into the lead held by Etchells. And just a couple of points back, we'll know officially at the end of the event, John Force. They're both concerned about Capps' ability to play catch-up. But Al Hoffman's running better this weekend than we've seen him in the last 6 or 7 races. Oh, and Al Hoffman, 5:07 at 304 miles an hour. Look at John Force. What a shocker.
You know what he said? He said, I don't know what this world's come to. We gotta root for Al.
Ah, yes, as I said, the rivalry between Force and Hoffman over the years has been absolutely legendary. But this is Hoffman's day thus far. He took out John Force in the first round. Now in the second round, whips up on Ron Capps by way more than a car length. Alan?
Ron, you could have made a serious move in the points today and let it slip by.
We still did good. Anything after first round was positive, you know, and just to go the second round with Force and Etchells going out, it's a big deal, and it's good to see that GM car running good over there. I mean, if we can't win, I'd like to see Al back in the hunt, and it's the way it goes. I mean, we're disappointed, but we got a lot of races left.
Well, here are the pairings. Tim Wilkerson will go against Bazemore. Tim gets the lane choice. And Al Hoffman will hold the lane choice over Cruz Pedregon. Can he keep the string going? That's a question everybody's asking.
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Hoffman and Cabs
Sorry about winning the race.
over to congratulate and offer condolences. Let's go again to Allen.
Ron Cap says it's good to see you back. Jimbo's really got a handle on this, doesn't he?
Yeah, we're starting to go the right direction. We got a real hot rod back here. It fell in a slump for a few months there and cost us, but I think we got something we can win races with now here. And I just thank GM Performance Parts and Pontiac and everybody hanging in with us, and you know, we're starting to come around for them.
Isn't it more fun like this?
It's always a lot more fun like this.
Al Hoffman, a great 5:07. Oh, look at this. One of the rising stars of Pro Stock, Richie Stevens, headed to the lanes. Pro Stock next. Got a great idea for you. Join NHRA today. You, of course, get 48 issues of National Dragster and more as well. A patch, a pin, a decal, a rule book, and if you call the number on your screen right now, you get yourself a free copy of Drag Racing 96. Call right now.
Last week it was 6,000 feet in Denver and times in the 740s. Now we're in Sonoma. It's sea level. It's 6-second runs and just that far away from 200 miles per hour.
Welcome back to Sears Point Raceway in the Autolite Nationals. Along with Alan Reinhardt, I'm Dave McClelland. A big crowd on hand today in the sunshine. They've already seen some great racing in Pro Stock. In round number 1, George Marnell raced Jake Coughlin. This was important, particularly for Coughlin, because he came off a big win in Denver when he whipped Warren Johnson in the final round and was not that far behind, just a little over 1 race and 1 round behind WJ at this point in the season. We were on board with Jake as he launched off the starting line and went into serious tire shake. You saw that hood scoop up there rattle around. Not supposed to do that. Marnell won to advance to the second round.
Got in some pretty violent wheel shake, and we tried to drive through it a little bit, and when I saw his nose out there, we just kind of feathered it on down through there, thinking, waiting for the desperation break, which didn't come.
George Marnell went on to beat Tom Hammonds in round number 2, while Warren Johnson beat Ron Krischer. V. Gaines stopped Steve Schmidt, and Richie Stevens went up against Mike Thomas in round number 2 of Pro Stock Racing. Strange race. Mike Thomas way late at the starting line. Richie Stevens ran a 7:09 at 195 miles an hour to advance into the semifinals. And the first pair we'll see will be young Richie up against V. Gaines. The talk of the Pro Stock pits, the 19-year-old kid, Richie Stevens, driving for Sean Collins. V. Gaines, V standing for Vieri, made it to the finals up at Indy at the U.S. Nationals last season. Richie just starting his NHRA Winston Pro Stock career. Left the red light at the starting line. And V. Gaines advances into the final round. He went a 7:21 at 169 miles an hour. May be difficult to hold on to lane choice in the finals. Watch in replay. The kid who had been cutting great lights throughout the day gambled on the tree and lost. The red light indicating disqualification. The next pair in the semifinal round, Warren Johnson against the surprising George Marnell. Now, here's Alan.
Lucky, lucky, lucky. Lucky is right. I had no shift light, and I think he was up first on me. We're just glad to be here.
He red lit. You didn't see that?
Oh, I didn't see that, no.
He had that one won before he even let the clutch out. Headed for the final.
So now V. Gaines is going to be interested to see what Warren Johnson can do in that lane. George Marnell, now there's a surprise for you. For the last 4 races, Marnell has failed to qualify. Here he came in, had a good qualifying effort, and now all the way to the semifinals, just 1 win away from making a final round appearance. The Tenneco Pontiac In the far lane, the GM Goodwrench Service plus Firebird of Warren Johnson, currently the Winston points leader. Close race off the starting line. Warren Johnson had the advantage and needed it as Marnell ran a 7:12, much quicker than WJ's 7:16. But Warren heads to the final round. You can see the advantage gained by WJ at the start. Marnell just a little bit late, and he'll be kicking himself for weeks after this. He had Warren Johnson right where he wanted him. The quicker car, but couldn't respond to the flash of the green light. So Warren Johnson goes to the final round to race V Gaines. The comparison of their elimination times show Warren much quicker with that great 6:97 in the first round.
In the history of drag racing, this has only been said about 4 times, Warren. You won on a hole shot.
I was lucky to win it all. Drove right through the clutch. I just kept lugging it to the other end. I'll guarantee there's clutch running out of the bell housing right now.
Did you underestimate the racetrack, maybe?
Probably did. Probably did.
They won't make that mistake in the final.
Put it a run.
16.
Oh, it is so hard to figure out a racetrack when the sun continues to beat down on it. You're so afraid of losing traction. That's why the crews and the crew chief make the big difference. Whit Bazemore knows he's watching Rob Flynn and gang do their work. They love their nitromethane racing here at Sears Point, and that's what we're ready for. Round 2 of Funny Car. Tim Wilkerson against Whit Bazemore. It was announced here at Sears Point that Team Winston will not be sponsoring Bazemore in 1999, a business decision. Team Winston will not have a funny car as part of the team. We asked Whit his plans for 99.
You know, we've had a little taste of success, and our future is very bright. You know, everyone's here, and we just want to keep ourselves together. That's the priority.
Priority here at Sears Point, meet Tim Wilkerson. Oh, Wilkerson tried everything in his power to regain traction, but Whit Bazemore just a little bit better out there, a 5:19 at 2:93. Wilkerson at 5:19 at 2:94. A big advantage, 0.03 of a second by Bazemore at the starting line, certainly worked on his behalf. As they neared the finish line, Wilkerson was trying to close the gap, but fell just a few feet short. Bazemore to the finals.
It's races like that that make the fans buy tickets. 19 to a 19, 293 to 294.
Wow, I love it. I love it. You know, to the fans, hey, that one's for you, Team Winston. God, you know, to be on the winning end of that deal, we knew those guys were awfully tough. Tim Wilkerson, you know, we're in the final at Indy together. I know he's got a grudge match with us. He thinks he owes us a few, and I'll be the first to admit he does, but they're real good over there.
They're not bad over here either. He's headed for the final.
Oh, is Whit Bazemore ready to race? So's this man, Al Hoffman. You talk about owing people something, I guess Hoffman figures he owes everybody in the sport a shot or two. Cruz Pedregon in the small soldier's car trying to stop Hoffman, who had a great 5:07 in the previous round. The Interstate Batteries team with Joe Gibbs, the team owner. And the small soldiers graphics all over the race car. GM Performance Parts came on board to help Al Hoffman earlier this season, and it obviously has paid off. Hoffman had the front end in the air, and when the tires came back down in the front, the rear one started to smoke, and Cruz Pedregon streaked to the finish line with a 5:13. That earns him lane choice in the finals against Bazemore. You can match up their times, and consistently quicker has been the cruiser. Look at this, Doug Coletta and crew streaking for the starting line. Top Fuel next.
Tonight on ESPN Classic at 8.
Speed World on hand at Sears Point Raceway for the 11th annual Autolite Nationals, and it is the Pennzoil Dragster of Eddie Hill up against Bruce Sarver. What's interesting that here we are in the semifinal round, and all of the leaders in the Winston points chase are out of competition. Bruce Sarver is responsible for part of that for sure, and Eddie Hill as well. Hill has been running exceptionally well at this event, but he did not run good enough. Only a 497 in the previous round. That gave lane choice to the 490 run by Bruce Sarver. The surprise here is with the lane choice, Sarver has ended up and selected the lane furthest from the camera. Sort of a break from tradition, if you will. Seems to work for him. Bruce Sarver goes to the final round with the Atsko Burris Racing entry. Eddie Hill trailing. Hill had a quicker elapsed time, 4:82. Bruce Sarver won the race with the starting line advantage, as he had a 4:84 elapsed time on this run. But the 0.03 of a second he gained at the starting line, just enough to give him a margin of victory of 23 thousandths of a second.
For the second time in your career in Top Fuel, Bruce, headed for the final, and the car's running now.
Can you believe that? It's the first time I've been down a track all weekend without shaking, and man, I feel so good. I wish all my friends are here. Mike Burris back home, Steve Scales, Gabe Sanchez. I wish you were here, man. We're going to win this one.
Bruce Sarver out of Southern California, the Bakersfield area, up here in the wine country, enjoying great success. Somebody else that's been successful this weekend, the quickest car on the ground, Doug Coletta. Gotta go against somewhat of a sentimental favorite. Look at all the names on the side of that. That SE Selze Enterprises. That's Gary Selze. Bruce Sarver. Oh, a congratulatory kiss. Out to the victor go the spoils. Doug Coletta has been remarkable. He's utilized the tune-up put on that race car by crew chief Ed McCulloch to run low elapsed time of the race, and has consistently been the quickest car of every round of eliminations thus far. Jim Head goes up in smoke. Wasn't as good as he had been running. A 4:82 elapsed time for Coletta. His speed, 309 miles an hour. Good enough, though, to earn him lane choice in the finals. Watch again in replay. The telltale tire smoke indicating loss of traction for Head. The finals, Coletta against Sarver, match up their times. Look at that 4:66. Doug's the quickest.
Doug, you're headed for the final round, but I got to tell you, you're starting to look a little human instead of Superman we've seen all day.
Well, yeah, the 82 slowed us down a little bit with that, but I'm sure the guys, Ed and Connie and all the guys will have something for him for the final round.
Doug Coletta headed to the finals against Bruce Sarver. Over in the pit area, they're getting Cruz Pendragon's funny car ready. Final round action coming your way next. Welcome back to Sears Point Raceway. These folks are ready, and so are we, for the finals of the Autolite Nationals. We'll kick things off in this final round action with Pro Stock Eliminator. 500 cubic inches of gasoline-burning carbureted power plants sitting under the hoods of these bodies, both Pontiac Firebirds. Highly sophisticated race cars underneath. Warren Johnson, the GM Goodwrench Service Plus cars in the near lane. He holds the lane choice over this man, Vieri Gaines, in the Western Motorsports Pontiac. Gaines making his second final round appearance of his career. Warren Johnson trying to win yet another Winston championship, and every round win adds to that points total. His closest competitor, Jake Coughlin Jr., went out in round number 1 racing. So every round that WJ wins just puts him further away from young Jake. Oh, and a red light start for V. Gaines ends it before it begins. And Gaines wasted a 7:10 at 195. Warren Johnson winning at a 7:13, 196. But this was a fairly substantial red light. Almost 400ths of a second. V. Gaines left way too quick, handing the win at the starting line to this man, Warren Johnson. Alan?
Warren Johnson is just climbing out of his Pontiac. He gets a medal from Miss Winston. Steve LaValliere from Allied Signal and Autolite is in here to present Warren with the trophy. A pretty good old day, all things considered, huh, Professor?
That's what you call racing luck. It was on my side today for a change.
What happened to the car in the final? I didn't expect a 13.
I shook the tires real bad. We went out there with the idea, let's be over clutch, at least get to the other end without burning the clutch up like we did in the semifinals. And fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which side of the fence you're looking at it from, the area you're red lighted, and that's the way it goes.
Mac? Coming into this race, Jake Hoffman was 123 points behind. Now he's 210. Warren may well be on his way to a fourth Winston title, and at the starting line, we're on our way to Nitro Eliminations final round. Funny cars. Interstate Battery Small Soldiers Cruz Pendragon. That's Whit Bazemore. You saw Rob Flynn come out from underneath the fiberglass body after making his final adjustments to the 500 cubic inch power plant that makes somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,000 to 7,000 horsepower. Not a dyno in the world's been built that can hold a Nitro Hemi. Pendragon just streaked to the win. 5:07 at 300 miles an hour. Bazemore did everything he could. He had a big advantage. 500ths of a second at the starting line. Bazemore and the team, Winston, Chevy, Camaro, much quicker. But right there, that loss of traction and the need to get off the throttle and back on it again. Let Cruz slip by, and when he did, he didn't spin a tire at the finish line to a 5:07 victory.
Cruz Pendragon has just climbed out of the car. You can see him working with his helmet strap here. I guarantee you this is going to be an emotional guy. He's had a couple of tough races over the course of the last couple of months, and Cruz, you and Wes and everybody earned this one today.
That's for Fred Wagenall's at Action Performance putting us in the small soldier car, but I'm not emotional. Hey, watch the hat there. Sorry about that. You know, hey, we just have a great team. There's a reason why Joe Gibbs won all those football games with the Redskins and stuff, because he knows how to treat people. I was a little down, and you know, we got people here that Wes had to tune me up a little bit as well as the car. I'm part of the car, and we're a team. All the guys really want to tip my hat to the crew because attitude makes a big difference here. But all the sponsors, you know who they are. I want to show. Where's my helmet?
Whit Bazemore congratulates Cruz. What did you want to show us on the helmet real quick?
This is Small Soldiers, and it's a heck of a movie. I went and watched it. But I appreciate everyone for supporting. NHRA drag racing is awesome. Winston.
So Chuck Etchells has made a giant leap by 1 point over John Force in the Winston chase. John was leading by 1 point when they came in. Now it's Etchells leading. Oh, the Pendragon brothers.
Are we filming this?
We're still, yes, we
I just
are.
want to say, Pendragon family. Oh, you tell them.
Hey guys, I know my brother's been down and out for the last couple races, and you know, we're a unique family. We're a little different because we get a little emotional, but
Pendragon's are winning races, though. That's all that counts.
I'm proud of my brother. I knew it was just going to be a matter of time before this team came back. It's going to be a long road. Myself and John and Cruz. There's a couple other guys that are going to be in this mix here. But hey, I'm proud of him. I'm glad he pulled it off.
I just want to say, proud of the brothers, proud of the people that put us in these cars. Thank you, guys.
And who says that Cruz isn't emotional? Well, it kind of belies that thought, doesn't it? Ed McCulloch ensconced with his computer, making the decisions for Doug Coletta. They're racing next. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Autolite Nationals has been brought to you by Pennzoil. Specially formulated for today's stop-and-go driving. Stop, go, Pennzoil. Final round top fuel eliminator. Doug Coletta driving for his uncle, Connie Coletta. taking the seat formerly occupied by Scott Coletta following his retirement a year ago. But Coletta, Doug that is, no stranger to motorsports. He's been Rookie of the Year a couple of times in the sprint car, midget car circuit. His opponent, Bruce Sarver. The Atco Power Steering remanufacturing Burroughs racing entry has been the surprise contender of this race. From his 15th qualifying spot, he is now racing the #1 car this weekend. Oh, in the heat of the day, one of the best races ever. You can tell by the reaction time at the starting line. Doug Coletta won it. The margin of victory was 0.05 of a second, and Bruce Sarver had a quicker elapsed time. The starting line advantage went to Doug Coletta. Matter of inches, 4.80 the time for Coletta, 4.78 for Bruce Sarver. Doug Coletta winning his first.
Doug Coletta, I think this is poetic justice. Your first final round, if my memory serves, you got beat on the starting line. In your second one, you won this race on the starting line. Great day.
Yeah, I tell you, the American International Kitty Hawk car really left good. Ed McCullough and all the guys did a great job today, and really just happy to be here up in the wine country of California with great fans. You know, everybody's been real nice to us this weekend, and it's just a real joy to be out front here today.
We're more than halfway through the season, and it is still a tight points race in Top Fuel. Corey Mack has got the lead over Joe Amato and Gary Selze. Bernstein not that far behind. Doug, the celebration's underway, that's for sure, as the American International Airways Kitty Hawk team makes its way down to the end of the racetrack. Huge crowd today, certainly enjoyed the racing. We hope you did. And our congratulations to Doug Coletta, Cruz Pendragon, and Warren Johnson, the winners here at the Autolite Nationals. For Alan Reinhardt, I'm Dave McClelland, saying so long from Sonoma. See you next week in Seattle.